Hello, my name is Heather Wagner, and I am a brand ambassador with Tula XII. Today I will be putting together my vehicle binder envelope, and here are the items that I will be using. The first thing is the XII or the 12 envelope, and it's a bold world print. It has a snap closure to it. And it has 5 pockets or sleeves, depending on how you want to word that. And the way we are going to set this up, I will have 5 different tab dividers to go into this. And I do apologize if you hear my son in the background. And it will hold all the information and paperwork that I need for my vehicle. So for the 5 sleeves, the first 2 will be inserts. I will have our vehicle maintenance insert in size medium. And when you open it up, it will be filled in, even though I will have the insurance and registration info in my envelope, I will still put that in here to have this documentation. It also gives you a schedule of when things are supposed to be done. And of course, that can alternate depending on the type of vehicle you have and how often you use it. But this is just like a standard checklist. And then the rest of the book, which gives you plenty of pages, is a maintenance log, which is good for any type of upkeep, anything you have to purchase and change out with your vehicle, or if there's anything that you need to notate that's going on with your vehicle, there's plenty of space. And it has the check performed by who, if you had to buy something, what the cost is. So this is very handy to have. And then, of course, an address book. And I know that today, it doesn't happen as often, but when I first started driving, I had been in a situation we didn't have GPS as nice as it is today, and I couldn't remember my phone number, and I was in an area where I had no signal. And so being able to have this in case of an emergency, so if you need to make a phone call and you cannot remember someone's phone number, it's good to have something like this on hand. It's just a good backup. I will not necessarily need to fill this thing completely up unless I just want contact information on hand for like restaurants and stuff too. But this right here is mainly for the emergency use of it. So that's the other reason I have it. Now, I know there's 2 different sizes. The reason being is that all of the sleeves are not going to have the same depth. The one in the far back is the deepest. So that is why I have the medium, because it fits in here perfectly. And the next sleeve down would make it have an overhang. It won't go all the way down, so it will not close. You can technically put it in the front, but as you see, it will cover the sleeves, but it does close. So I bought this one to go into the very back sleeve. And then I got the small because the small will fit down in here perfectly. And it won't have that large overhang. Now, just so you, in case you wonder, this is a small in the front. And as you see, it doesn't cover the next sleeve. So you can definitely use all small inserts in this if you like. But the medium does fit down in here. It's just keeping in mind where does it come as far as the closure goes. So this is what I'm using here. So I'm using these 2 inserts. I will also have one sleeve for my registration paperwork. I'll have one sleeve that is designed for my insurance. So there's a registration, insurance, the address, and the vehicle maintenance. And because I have a 5th one, I am actually going to use that to have emergency cash in, because I have also experienced being out of town, or technically even being out of state, and my card being declined because they thought it was fraudulent, and then being in a situation that I did not have any cash on me. Thankfully, the lady at the gas station was super nice and worked with me. But that is part of what I will be doing with that. Now, once I make my dividers, I will be using the tab stickers that is also in It's a Bold World print to, of course, coordinate. And so I will also be using this. I have this paper cutter, but you can use scissors or anything else, just something that you need in order to cut your pieces down. I am using this cardstock that I had on hand. I couldn't make up my mind. I even asked some questions on Facebook on what everybody thought. And honestly, I didn't really think about it. I could just do both and do mix and match. So by the time you cut this, you could have up to 6 pieces, even though you only need 5. And I'll get to that in a minute. For our tab stickers, if you do not have one of those label makers, I prefer to use like a Sharpie fine point. I love our products. The only complaint I have is that when you write here, it sometimes the ink doesn't dry as quickly on this particular material because it's not quite matte. So I found that this just goes on there better. Otherwise, you can use labels or stickers or anything else that you want right there. But I'm just going to use a Sharpie pen for this. And I've chose these colors because it matches, but also because it's what I had on hand. So once we get this cut, and I did this right here because I'm trying to show you what to expect when you start cutting. Once everything is cut out, you will have 6 of these sizes. It would be a 4. Oops, it's not 7.5. I was originally thinking about it, but I don't like that now. I'm so sorry. So it's going to be a 4 by 7 piece like this right here. I have measured this. This is what works for the envelope, but it also provides you enough room to put your tab stickers on as well. And once you see it at the end, it's beautiful. So if you look at this, and I probably should have used a different color sheets, but maybe you can make this out. Let me just do this right here real quick. I didn't test this to see the color. So this ain't going to be perfect. I'm just doing a quick outline of the lines that I do have to make it pop through more. So once you go and start cutting this down, you will end up having 3 pieces per piece of 8.5 by 11 paper. So this is just a regular piece of paper, size paper. And so this is what it's going to end up looking like. You'll have 1, 2, 3. And what I recommend is sketching out with a pencil to make sure, if you don't have one of these, sketch out with the pencil on the sizing. I would cut this one out first, so that way you can just cut that line straight, because if you try to cut here, you might overhang onto that side. So cut right here, and then you'll have that piece here. And then all you have to do is cut this extra bit off, and then just cut it in half. Because these 2 pieces together come up to 8 inches even. So that's works really well for this paper. So if you want to maximize your paper as much as you can and not have a lot of waste, that's the best way you can do it. Now, of course, you can go and adjust it however you wish. This is just what I am going to do, and this is what works for me. Now, I am not sure which one. I'm going to alternate this. I'm probably going to use all 3 here and these 2 here for that extra pop of color. But it's really up to whatever you would like to do. And again, my son is trying to get into my office space, and he's probably getting mad because he can't get in here. But he will be okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this in. And because if you were to look here, you got 7 inches here because of the way I got this laid out. And then you got 4 inches here. It actually comes out to 11 inches perfectly. So all I have to do is, when I get to this line, I needed a 7 inches down and 4 inches on top. And it's going to make sense here in a second. Now, I do know you cannot see the numbers, but I'm going to read them out to you. So I put this down here, which is 7 inches, because I'll have 7 inches here. And then when I go and put this down and cut it, I will have 4 inches up here. It's because it's exactly 11. So do that. So this right here is almost done. So I have 4 inches here. You can I'm always more prone to double checking myself, and I do have 4 inches here. So my 4 inches is here. So now I just need 7 inches here. So I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to come down to the 7. And then I'm going to cut this little bit of extra off and just put it to the side. I might use that scrap later. So now I have a 4x7 piece of cardstock. So the next thing I'm going to do is, if you need to double check to make sure you don't confuse yourself, I come down here. I've got 7 right here. So I already know that it's supposed to look like this. So I need to have 2 pieces. So I've already got my 7. That measurement is done and it's perfect. So the next part, I'm going to bring this down to the 4 and cut it. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to come down to the 4 and cut it again. And then I am done with that piece of paper. And then if you put it all together, I have 3 pieces of cardstock. Each one of them is 4x7. And this was all I had left over from that. So I'm going to use it for something probably, because I tend to do that with everything. So now I'm going to do this again. I'm going to come down and measure my 7. So once I cut the 7 inches of paper off here, I'll have 4 inches of paper left, which will start the first one. And again, I'm going to double check myself, because accidents happen. I've done it many a time. This is why I usually double check everything. So I've got my 4 inches here. So I need it to be a 4x7. Bring it down to the 7 and cut that. Remove it. I have my first 4x7 in this color. And again, I will always double check it, because that's just me, and I've probably got a touch of OCD, but that's okay. So I've got my 7. Let me grab that. Which means I should get 2 pieces out this way. So I'll have to turn it to get that cut that I need. So I've got my 7. So I need to bring this down by 4. About made a boo-boo there, if you noticed. So here's my first 4x7. And because the 7's already here, I just need to make sure this is cut down to 4. So I'll bring it down to the 4 and cut that, and I'm done. So now all I've got waist-wise is this. Now I know I got an extra piece here, and that's fine, because I do a lot of projects, and I have another one of these that's actually in our raspberry color, raspberry sherbet. So it's all good. I'll find a use for it. So now I've got 6. So I do not need this anymore, so I will put this to the side. I always like to kind of play around with this, because you never know what it's going to look like. So if I do 3 of these, and then 2 of these, this is what it would look like. But because because this is black, I think I'm going to actually stick with my original idea. Do the light pink, and then use that. And then that way it actually makes it pop out a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to put this one to the side. I will use it with my other envelope that I have. I had another envelope in my car when it first came out, but I was in a car accident and my car got totaled, and so I had to get a new setup. And so this is part of the reason why I'm doing this. And I'm excited to have my new stuff, even though I wasn't happy about the accident. But it's also good that I had all of this in the original car that I had. So it's good to be prepared for that reason. So when you have the tab stickers, you can match this if you want, but there's also another set that are the slim version. So you get 8 tab stickers in this style. But now the slimmer version, you get 6, I think it's 9. I do not have one in front of me, but you get 9 in that one, I believe. Or is it 12? I think it's 9. But they don't always come in all the same prints and stuff, so that's something you'll just have to look at. Now, when I start to do this, before I ever do anything, I always remove the trimmings of this because it makes it easier if I take this off and I decide I don't want to use it. It's just easier to put back in there versus having to put it exactly in that same spot. So that's a little trick that I like to do. And I also will write on this first before I put it on here, because I hate if I were to put this tab sticker on here and then I mess up what I write, and then I've messed up both the tab sticker and that. Normally I would be using my label maker, but my mother currently has it, so I can easily just write in what I want right now, and then later I can use that. So the first 2 will actually have my inserts in them. So I will probably, and you can see they all look a little different. And since there's not a lot of color up in this right here, I'm going to actually do this right here. I'm just going to say, sorry, I have to angle myself a little bit. I think this is dying. I guess I should have tested that. It's about to. So, but that's okay. There we go. Now, I'm just going to put it as vehicle log because I know what that's going to be. And then the next one is going to be address. And really, you can do this however you want to. This is just how I'm doing it. It's not that big of a deal. I'm going to just put cash here. And then the next one I'm going to do is registration. About ran out of room. And then I'm going to do insurance. Now that's 5, so I still have 3 tabs left over. So if by chance, hopefully nothing happens, if I need to create another tab, it's easy enough. I could always adjust and shift a few things here, and I can put 2 of these dividers in here. And then what will happen is I have them 2 tab stickers also showing me that I can fit both of those in there. But for right now, I don't need that. I can use the 5 spaces that I have with the info I got. But if for some reason you needed to put a couple more things in there, you can do that. So just keep that in mind. You know, you're not stuck just using 5 items. This is just how I'm personally using it. And so what I do, because I am a little bit on the anal side about things, I will actually do the first and last one, and then I will also do the middle, so that way I have my placement where I like it. It's all pretty and even, because that's just how I am. So I'm going to have my vehicle maintenance first. So I will take that. And again, because of the colors I'm using, this will be my first one. And let me see if you can see that. So you see it looks like this right here. But what you're going to end up doing is folding this over and having these, they're mirroring each other. And then you make them match, and then you create your own tab. I'm not going to worry about the back side of this because you're not going to see it. But the other thing is that if I ended up repurposing this, once I have this right here and I leave the back where it's at, when it's flipped over, it's going to be blank. So I can repurpose that. So that's another bonus of doing it this way. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I know I can't really get this any more close up for you, but you get the idea. So I'm going to line this up and make it even. and put it where I need it to be. So there, it's going to stick like that. Then you're going to turn it over. And normally I could do a little bit better than this, but I'm trying to not block the camera as I do it. I do typically try to do the ends first to make sure they are where they need to be, and they are. And then I'll come and smooth it out. I didn't quite get it as even as I wanted to, but again, I'm trying to watch my angle here so you can see that. So as you see, I've got a new little tab divider. And then if I decide that I'm going to repurpose this, I can take this out, flip it over. Now I've got a blank spot and just reverse it or do it however you want to. So as you see, once you get this in here, this is what it's going to look like. Sorry, I'm trying to get it in here. And one thing I will say, it takes a little bit of adjustment with this right here and getting it where you want. So the first one is not going to pop out as much only because of the fold. But I don't need it to be exactly perfect like that. I just need it to be visible when I first open it. And so as you see, you'll see that. I know you don't see it much right here, but you will in the other ones. But again, that's just me. You can even just use plain old white cardstock. This is just how I like to do it. So the next one I'm going to use is my registration. And I'm going to do the same thing, but because this is what the first one's going to be, and this is my last one, this is how I start it. So that way I can make sure I get my tabs exactly where I want them. And make sure it looks nice and even. I try to remind myself it doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, I'd rather take my time and make sure I do it in such a way that I like it. Because if you mess it up, you know, you're going to have to sit there and kind of look at it like that. And I just would rather take a few extra moments and try to make sure I do it right. And then have something pretty to look at. Okay, so there's that one. So once it's all in there, it's going to have that look going with it. Also, part of the reason I do this is to make sure I label these correctly. So the next one I'm doing is my cash. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to put this one right here. And then I'm going to have to eye it just a little bit because it will not be perfect. I just need it to be as close as possible though. And only problem with some of this cardstock is sometimes they're not cut even when you get them. So it kind of messes everything up a little. It's not too bad off though, so it's okay. Try to make sure I got this about where I want it. I think that's about as close as it's going to get. And I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to do the same exact thing that I've been doing. Sorry, I'm getting a little tickled to hear my kid in the other room, and he's just going crazy. The cheek goes crazy right before. I don't know if y'all's does it or not, but right before my son is ready to go to sleep, he hits this weird adrenaline phase of craziness. I'm telling you. I just wish I had his energy in general. So I know it's a little harder to see with these colors, but once I get it over here, it'll look really good. Okay, so I've got those. Next step, I'm going to jump back up here. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the cash. I'm going to put this in the front because I want it's going to be going between these two. So just kind of want to see where it's going to sit and make sure I'm going to be okay with it. Now the cash is the one that's going to be more visible from that angle, but I still want the tabs to be as closely even as possible. It doesn't have to be exact, just enough so that way it's got a nice clean look to it. And again, I love the idea of doing it this way because also, once it's all said and done, I tend to always update and repurpose things. I will eventually do this sometime later on. And so once it's all said and done, I can just flip these over and I still have these beautiful tab dividers and I can use them for a different category in my life for something else. I've seen a lot of girls using these for couponing, other types of paperwork. So there's a lot of different things you can use them for. My goal was to use this as a vehicle setup because of the simple fact I really didn't need a full organizer setup with one of our regular covers. And this is perfect for me for this right here. So again, it's going to just add a little bit. And if by chance something happens and you mess this up, what you can do is you can take some scissors and just cut off the top of the tab, turn it upside down, and use one of the extra tab stickers to fix whatever you messed up. Because it does happen, especially if you've never used these before. And if you do, don't get upset because you should have seen the mess I made the first time I tried doing these. Because I wasn't used to making my own tab stickers with anything like that. So let's go ahead and set these in here. And remember, if this is a new envelope for you, it's going to be a little snug. It'll eventually get a little bit more flexible. It's just new, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Now, I know it seems like I'm struggling, and it's because this thing is new, so it's not giving as much as it normally would, like with my other one. So you're going to go through, put all these little pretty things in there. And as you see, these three right, well, not three, these four, when you put these in, it actually is touching the bottom of the lining. So you get some of that color coming through. And I know you don't see all of it, and you really don't have to do color cardstock. I just wanted a little bit of the pop of color to go with it instead of using white. So that's part of what you see here. And you could actually make this a little bit wider if you wanted to with the dividers. You can actually go up to a 7.5. But by doing that, you can only get 2 of these off of one sheet of paper. So I wanted to, again, maximize how much I got out of it. So I've got my dividers in there. It gives it just a little bit of pop of color, which goes in, it matches this really well. And I personally love it. I love that little bit of pop of color, even though you don't really see it much. It's just enough to give it a little something extra. So I love it. Now, I will end up filling this out, but I don't want to do it and you see my information as much as I love all of y'all. So go ahead and put my vehicle in. And I will eventually go through and update all of my information. So I have my vehicle. And then I also have my address already in there. You can either use one of those, you can do like a cash envelope system, which I do make those a lot, and hold the cash in that and then put it in here. You can leave the cash as is and just stick it straight in here. You can also just simply put a gift card or a reloadable card in there, so that way you always have a card on hand. It's really however you want to, but it's always, I do recommend always having some emergency cash or a way of having something that a bank will not lock up just in case for safety reasons. I will get my insurance and registration out of my car. I will put this in here, and then I will have a beautiful vehicle set up. I call it a binder, envelope binder. So it's really however you want to call it. But see, now I have all of that in one confined spot, and it is ready to go. I hope this was helpful. I know it was kind of long, but I wanted to make sure you've seen the steps to do this. And hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.